Look what they are doing. Enough is enough. Maybe what they intended for evil, God's going to turn around and use for something good.
Hi everyone, this is Veronica Kirilenko of the New American Magazine. Pro-abortion activism is getting increasingly violent across the United States. The leftists feel outraged by the Supreme Court's planning to overturn both Roe v. Wade and Planned Parenthood v. Casey, the legal decisions that purportedly established abortion as a constitutionally protected right. Over the last week and this past weekend, deranged mobs took to the streets to intimidate Supreme Court justices and their families, and in some places incited violence and riots. On Sunday, the headquarters of a nonprofit pro-life organization called Wisconsin Family Action, located in Madison, was firebombed by a leftist anarchist group. Today, we're speaking with the organization's president, Julaine Appling. Thank you so much, Julaine, for your time.
Oh, thank you, Veronica. Good to be with you.
Thank you. We're so sorry to what happened to your office, and we thank God that nobody got injured. Please tell us how it happened.
Well, yes, thank you for sympathizing with us and being glad that no one was hurt. Now, part of what's going on here, I think, is that the thugs that do this kind of thing, they don't want to be seen in the light of day. So, of course, they're under the cloak of darkness, which certainly helped protect our people. According to the police report, this happened about 6 o'clock in the morning yesterday, Sunday, May 8th, which ironically was Mother's Day, right? So here we are talking about all of this mayhem on a day when all of us who are here should be honoring our mothers, right? Who gave us life, who chose to give us life. But I got a report from the building management that our office had been breached, that 2 windows in my particular space had been broken, and Molotov cocktails, 2 of them, had been tossed into my office. One apparently had indeed detonated, the other not so much, but they perpetrators tried to start a fire. I think there was very much evidence of them actually purposefully trying to ignite a fire. And then, of course, after they had done that, and by the way, glass is everywhere still, because I haven't had much time to deal with that, but the glass is everywhere in my office. But then they put graffiti on a couple of outside walls. One of them, the main part of that graffiti, says, "If abortions are not safe, then you are not either." Now, I find a double entendre in that, Veronica, because abortion's never safe. It's not safe for the woman, and it's definitely not safe for the baby. But that's not what they meant, right? What they meant was keeping the, quote, legal right. I saw you do the air quotes there when you called it a constitutional right, because we all know it's not a constitutional right. There's no right to kill a baby. So they unwittingly played into our hands, because abortions are never safe, but certainly there's a threat there to our bodily security and safety. Is this a one and done, and they don't come back and they don't bother us again? We don't know. We simply don't know the answer to that question.
Mm-hmm. In your statement, you said that an anarchist group called Anarchy 1312 took responsibility for the attack. Who are they, and have they threatened you previously?
No, they had not. Now, one thing, at the time that I wrote that press release, I wasn't really sure. We're thinking now that perhaps, rather than taking credit for it, we're thinking that that was another dissident statement, because the A with the circle around it is apparently a very common symbol for anarchists in general. And the 1312, of course, stands for telling us that all cops are bad, right? I'm using a euphemism there. That's not the word they use, but and so we're thinking that maybe more than taking credit for the destruction and for the overt threat, that they were basically saying, hey, we not only hate you, but we hate cops too.
Mm-hmm. And in your statement, you also specifically mentioned Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers, saying that the incident was a result of his lenient stance toward violence group. Would you please explain this statement?
Yeah, I don't want to say that it was directly caused by Tony Evers. That would be an overstatement in every sense of the word. But what I was trying to express in the press release, Veronica, was that when you have a void of leadership, all right, you send a message to people that they can do what they want. And so let's recall Kenosha in 2020, right? Or Madison in 2020. So we have extensive rioting in Madison, property destruction, and then we know what happened in Kenosha. There was rioting there with the Jacob Blake incident, and people were killed. And Governor Evers refused to call in the National Guard for either situation, and to really quell the violence that was taking place there. He issued a statement relative to what happened to us yesterday. In his original statement, I understand there's another statement that he's released trying to apparently make it stronger or something, did that today. But his original statement relative to what we've experienced was basically, well, we don't condone violence. Governor, you need to condemn violence. You need to make it clear that it will not be tolerated, and you will bring every resource of the state of Wisconsin's to bear to find the perpetrators and make sure that justice happens quickly and assuredly. Then he turns around in the latter half of that original statement and says, "We're going to continue to fight for the right to kill babies." you know, he says they'll try to do it in quote, more pacifistic ways than bombing our office. But the intent was for him to try to say, well, we don't necessarily agree with the violence, but these people are wrong on the issue. And we need a stronger statement from him. We need to stop. I've said publicly, and I'll continue to repeat it. The violence needs to stop now. It needs to stop right now. This is unacceptable. No more winking at it, no more avoiding it, no more, these pablum, the responses. It needs to stop, and we need to make it very, very hard on those who are continuing to perpetrate it.
Yes, it seems so appealing to me that your governor used the same statement to kind of condemn the violence and at the same time reaffirm his support for abortion. It was even, I don't know, it was very mild and kind of reassuring, and it did not look good at all. Like you said, he needed to send a much stronger message on the matter, and then he didn't. Julaine, please share with us, what was your original reaction to the leaked draft from the Supreme Court, and why do you think this unprecedented leak happened now?
Well, first of all, it was a week ago today that leak happened, right? Not quite a week ago today. It was like 8:30 Central Time. What a week this has been, right? I'm sitting there doing my own work at night, getting ready. So I'm making sure I could be ready for the next day, taking care of everything that needs to be done. And I get this news. And, I've been at this for 25 years. So part of me, my original reaction was, okay, is this real? Who is trying to make us, get all excited and then pull the rug out from under us? And so I was very, very cautious on our initial response to this. We tried to tamp down the enthusiasm until we could get confirmation of some sort that it was indeed an actual document from the Supreme Court, right? Fortunately, the court came out the next day under Chief Justice John Roberts and said, yes, it is authentic. But I took the position that we should be cautiously optimistic. Okay, it was an original draft written on, or at least circulated on February 10th of this year. There's a lot of time that takes place between February 10th and now nearly the middle of May, right? And what we know is people don't understand how the Supreme Court operates. They don't understand that the original vote was taken on the Friday after the oral arguments were done on Wednesday back in early December. But the justices can change their vote basically up until that opinion is issued and released to the public. We saw it in 2012. I think it was 2012 when John Roberts flipped his vote, remember, on Obamacare.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that was late in the game, right? So we took a wait and see approach on this. It is not the final opinion. What I'm hoping, Veronica, is that what we do end up is very, very similar to that. And that indeed Roe v. Wade and Casey, and Casey was what, almost 20 years after Roe. I think it was 1992, if I recall correctly. Okay, it was almost 20 years after Roe. And basically what it did was kind of seal the doom, right? And abortion on demand was going to be, quote, legal everywhere in the country because any attempt to overturn it was basically stopped then. And so the court basically said both of them were decided badly. There was bad jurisprudence. It was bad legal reasoning. It was bad on every level. And, if we get anything similar to what we got in that leaked opinion, I'm rejoicing. And I hope the time comes where we can really, truly celebrate that we're out from under this horrendous federal, free for all on the unborn children in our country. Millions and millions and millions of children killed under this. Now we bring it, if this happens, we bring it back to the state, right?
Mhm.
So my original action was, okay, well, we got to get ready for this is going to come back to the state. We got to be ready.
Yes, but yet, like you said, the justices do sometimes change their votes, and it's a grave concern to any pro-life American because we're seeing the mobs of protesters marching to the houses of the Supreme Court justices. We have seen what happens over the weekend. They gathered at the Brett Kavanaugh's house, then they marched to John Roberts' house. And they are really trying to intimidate those people and their families. Many observers suggest it is illegal even to do that. It is not covered by the First Amendment rights
Well,
to intimidate justices because
well,
it's
yeah.
threat to them and a mean to influence their decision. What do you think about it?
Well, I think you're right. I don't know. I'm not an attorney, so I don't know all of the legal, ins and outs of what criminal statutes would be in place at the federal level. But that threatening an elected official is illegal. So look, the left has now one response to anything they don't like: riot, loot, destroy property, bully, intimidate. Their whole modus operandi right now is to try to make us so fearful that we shut up, that we quit showing up, standing up, and speaking up. When we do that, or if we do that, they've won, because that is exactly what they want. It's like the people who tell me right now, I'm not voting in November because it's just going to be stolen. Well, then you just waved the white flag and said, y'all come on in, it's yours for the taking. We cannot quake and quell and cower in the face of their bullying and intimidation tactics, whether it's marching on the justices' homes or riding in front of the Supreme Court or throwing Molotov cocktails into a not-for-profit organization's office in Madison, Wisconsin. We can't do it. We all have to determine that we cannot be sunshine soldiers and summer patriots. This is the time for us to stand up. Maybe this is our finest hour, Veronica. Maybe this is the time we've all been called for such a time as this to say, look what they are doing. Enough is enough. Maybe what they intended for evil, God's going to turn around and use for something good. That's my prayer. I don't know what that good necessarily looks like. I know what I'd like it to look like, but I don't know for sure. We're just the victims on this, in the sense that they did it to us and it's observable, right? But if they think it's going to make us stop sending out our messages and stop talking about what we need to talk about and shining the bright light of truth into the darkness of this culture, they have picked on the wrong group, because we're not going away and we're not going to be quiet.
Good, don't. Julaine, I've got one more question to you. Last week, commenting on the content of the leaked draft, President Joe Biden called pro-life conservatives the MAGA crowd, which he then called the most extreme political organization that's existed in American history.
Because this MAGA crowd is really the most extreme political organization that's existed in American history.
What's your reaction to this statement?
Well, first of all, let me just say in a blanket way, I don't think Joe Biden is saying anything original right now. He's saying everything that somebody's putting in front of him, written by his staff and advisors, right? And he's wrong. He's totally wrong. He's got it in complete reverse. Look, by and large, conservatives don't go out murder people, destroy property, protest in front of justices' homes, break into offices, throw Molotov cocktails into people's private property and all of that. That's not who we are, and that's not how we operate. Yes, there have been regrettable incidents where under the mantra of pro-life, we've had some people do some things that are horrible. Nobody agrees with that. Soundly denounce that, but that's not generally who we are. Hello, it wasn't conservatives that broke into our office Sunday morning. It was people who were bent on destruction and mayhem. And the irony of this, Veronica, honestly, I spent all day, I was at the office by 10 and I left about 5:30, and I did media interviews like solid during that time, right? I told many of them, well, I think this is working in reverse, because you're talking to me. You're not talking to them. You're getting my message out, not theirs. They're the ones that look bad. They're the ones that people are saying, how could they possibly do that? Have we really come to this in America? Hello, President Biden. Who is the most extreme in all of this debate? It's not the conservatives, not the pro-life movement.
Julaine, thank you so much for your courage and your hard work. Please tell us how to connect with you, how to follow your work, and how to support your organization.
Well, thank you, Veronica, and the New American for giving us this opportunity. The best way is to follow us on our website, wifamilyaction.org. We are also on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and probably some other things that I'm oblivious about right now. But we encourage people to stay there. We're trying to stay current. We're trying to make sure people see where we're showing up in the news and places like that, so they can hear us and see us and know that we're trying to do our best to represent all of us who share these deeply held beliefs and values, that every life is sacred. Every life has inherent value and worth. And to attack people who believe that way is not helpful, not constructive, and probably is going to end up turning in the opposite direction for those who are doing this kind of thing.
Thank you so much for your time. God bless you.
Thank you.